Hello everyone. Today I am dehydrating jalapenos. Don't those jalapenos look beautiful? I have about 1.5 pounds of jalapenos that are really nice and big, and I've washed them. You can see that there's water on them. And in the 1.5 pounds there are 13 jalapenos, so that gives you some idea of how big they are. I'm Rebecca from StockingMyPantry.com. Alright, so what we have is we have the jalapenos, and I have a knife and also just the cutting board, and then I also have these gloves that I'm going to wear while cutting the jalapenos. You don't have to do that, but if you don't and then you end up rubbing your eyes or anything like that, then it really burns. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I have 6 of these dehydrator trays, and I am going to put 2 on each one, but 3 on the top tray. So 2 jalapenos on each tray, 3 on the top one because that one is closest to the heat source, and so it will dry faster. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, thankfully these are really easy to do. All that you do is you cut off both ends of the jalapeno. And there's actually a couple ways you can do it. First of all, if you don't want the spice, you can cut out the center, which is the seeds and the membranes. That's where most of the heat is. And I debated about whether or not to cut those out or leave it in, and I've decided to leave it in. After it's dehydrated, if I want, I can, push out the seeds out of the individual slices and have less heat, but I'll have them available if I want the heat. So that's why I decided to do it that way. Sometimes people will just cut them in half like so, or maybe in quarters and do them that way. I'm going to just cut them in about 1/4 inch thick slices. So you can see how, especially down at this end, that's really, really solid. So it probably is going to be pretty spicy. And as you can probably see, I'm going to be able to space them out quite a bit. Actually, probably even more than what's spaced out there, which is nice because the more spaced out they are, the better that they dry. So let me get the second one for this tray. Okay, so to give you an idea, that's how the one tray worked out. So you can tell that there will be plenty of room on the top tray for me to put the 3 jalapenos. All right, I'm going to go ahead and slice all of those, and I'll bring you back to show you the top tray that has the 3 jalapenos on it so you can see how full that was. Now, again, keep in mind that these are really, really big jalapenos, so they're at least 1.5 times the size of your typical jalapenos. But bottom line is that I'm using 6 trays for 1.5 pounds of jalapenos. Okay, this is the tray with 3 jalapenos. So you can see that there's plenty of room for 3 large jalapenos on a tray. So definitely if you got smaller, normal size jalapenos, you could probably pretty easily fit 4 jalapenos on a tray. So if you're wondering how much to buy for a project like this and you want them to fit on nicely, then 4 per tray should do quite well, because technically I could probably, even with big ones, fit 4 on a tray. They would just be closer together and possibly take a little bit longer to dehydrate. Okay, so I am going to put the dehydrator on 125, and I'm actually going to be running this overnight while I'm sleeping. It is expected to take a good 8 hours or so to dehydrate, so it may even take longer than that, and so it should be fine running it overnight. And so I will just go ahead and plug it in, and then in the morning I'll show you what they look like. See you in the morning. Hello everyone, it is now the next morning. The jalapenos have been going about 9 hours and they are perfectly dry. Now one thing I want to show you is how, remember I debated about whether or not to take out the seeds, and I thought that I would leave them in so that way I could have the heat. But I mentioned that I can always remove them if I want. So let's say I'm going to make something and I don't want the heat. So you can see I have the dry jalapeno there. And look how easily the seeds come out. So if I wanted to make something with no seeds, no heat, I could just pop that right out. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put them into a jar now, and we'll see how much we ended up with. Now, I didn't measure them ahead of time, but again, these were 13 large jalapenos, and I'm going to just go ahead and put them into a quart jar. So while I'm doing this, I thought I'd talk a little bit about how to use these dehydrated jalapenos. And first of all, you can use them just like I like to use them when I'm cooking beans or soup or anything like that. I don't even bother rehydrating them. I just toss them in there dry. And so that's a super easy thing to do, to just give it a little heat. Another thing that I have done is I've used these to make like a jalapeno ranch salad dressing. I've taken powdered powdered ranch dressing mix, and then in a coffee grinder that I use just for this type of thing, I powder up some jalapenos and add them in, and then that gives a nice spicy kick to my ranch dressing, which is kind of nice. Now, something I'm going to try this time that I haven't done before is I'm going to try making jalapeno salt. And basically all that is powder the jalapeno and then mix it in a little bit. Now this is a little bit, might not be totally dry, we'll see. I'm actually just feeling that. I'm going to put a couple of these aside, I think, and run them a little bit more. But anyway, I would take the dehydrated jalapenos and I would just powder them up and then put them with some salt in a blender or something and just very gently blend. So I wouldn't, pulverize the salt. I like using a kosher salt for that. So it's got kind of a nice texture to it. And what I would do is just kind of pulse it a little bit and mix it together. If I'm feeling any moisture at all, I'm putting them aside on another tray. And I'm not going to have very much, so that'll be kind of nice, as I'll be able to put those up on the top level and run them again for another hour or so. So these are a way to add some spice to your food pantry. Feel a little bit of moisture on that one. This is one reason why it's good to use your hands with taking each piece off, so that you can feel it for any moisture that may be in there. Seems like every time I video there's a siren. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but we live fairly close to a busy street, and all right, so I have here a little less than right about a cup of dehydrated jalapenos. And I'm going to show you what I have left that I need to put back in to the dehydrator. So really just a handful. That's probably, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's probably about a jalapeno and a half, I would guesstimate, left out of the 13 jalapenos. And they're not real wet, so they shouldn't take a lot of time. But I'm going to go ahead and put those in for another hour or two. And then I'll put them away and just add them to this jar. And I'll have a good solid cup of jalapeno slices to use whenever I want. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would appreciate it if you would like the video and if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.